Right, are we all over the other day? You remember with T-Hawk, Mace and Slapdick, or whatever the hell it was, basically the lineup of the Decepticons. That damn Megatron always around here trying to screw things up, but we can forget about that. And now we can focus on Impact, because it's what, the third, the fourth week, whatever it was, where we take the finger of power and we do indeed give the good bits an up and the bad bits a down for a show that more people should be watching. Honestly, I sit down, it is an easy 90 minutes. But before we get there, thank you very much for voting in this week's poll for Retro Ups and Downs, and finally, thank everything, WrestleMania 17 won. I was going to take it off the poll for at least a good month if it hadn't have been victorious, but it had. We'll do that on Friday, but for now, let's up those downs for Impact. Impact started with a three-way to see who was going to challenge Rohit Raju for his X Division title. And I didn't pick up on this last week, I was probably just really sleepy, but that match was going to happen right after this match. Not a bad way to kick off your wrestling show. It was Trey Miguel versus TJP versus Chris Bay, and Bay was great straight away because he just went and attacked Trey Miguel as TJP was still taking off his clothes. That's something I've always told everybody. The early bird catches the worm. If somebody's gonna play dress up, go and kick somebody else's ass. When they had recovered, the guys just went nuts and we saw a bunch of hurricanranas and a bunch of arm drags. It was just go, go, go. You know how modern wrestling can be. And I get that divides the audience right down the middle, but I just enjoy it. It's athleticism and it's damn right beautiful. TJP was gonna hit the Mamba Splash, but Miguel made sure that wasn't gonna happen, and then Bay was hitting this crazy cutter and he got a really close near fall. And then when TJP was trying to lock in an ankle lock on Chris Bay, Miguel went, when I can take advantage of this, he hit a Meteora and he got the 1, 2, 3. Can you believe it? He is your number one contender. This was like an asteroid crashing into Earth with Bruce Willis, unfortunately, not around to save us because it was explosive. And unfortunately, I can't say that for what followed, because of course we went right into this X Division match and it just went poof, and it popped my balloon flat. And that is not a euphemism. I just felt it was a little bit disappointing because Miguel ran at Raju and he kind of just got out of the way and then used the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up. He held the tights and he got the 1, 2, 3. I was like, couldn't we have had a little bit of a back and forth? Like, it's fine if he's going to retain his championship. I can get it because Miguel's all tired and then you can do another match at Bound for Glory and do the title switch there. But I was like, it's quite excited. Then it got taken away from me, like being told you're about to go to a birthday party and then it just gets cancelled, and then eventually you find out it didn't get cancelled and everybody else went, you just got uninvited. Not that ever happened to me. I'm just saying that could happen, and maybe it would be with you for a vast portion of your life. Down. Eric Young followed, and this madman has now convinced himself that everything he did to Scott D'Amore and Rich Swann was completely justified because they got in the way of the tornado, so anything that they get is all on them. And then we were trying to have an interview with Tenille Dashwood, but that Caleb guy with a K, Caleb, how you spell it, was like, no, she's too busy. And then Tenille Dashwood came out and said, look, I'm gonna whoop Jordynne Grace's ass later. And I was like, okay. It was Susie versus Kimberly next, with Deonna Purrazzo and Kylie Ray in each of their corners. And this does kind of feel a little bit like we're going round in circles. Like, you have these four people and we just have combinations of the same matches each and every week. It's like being at your house and then Google mapping to your own house, and then you get back to your own house and you're kind of confused what you were doing. It's kind of obvious where we're headed as well. It's going to be Deonna Purrazzo versus Kylie Ray for the Women's Championship. But you know what? This was far better than I was expecting, so I'm gonna have it up. You gotta figure there's more going on here too, because Deonna Purrazzo kept getting involved. I mean, she couldn't get enough of it, but always when you do that, you risk going one step too far, and she did, because she went to hit Susie, missed, smashed her friend, allowing Susie to hit the panic switch, and she actually got a victory. Then as always, we all got worried, like, oh no, she's gonna transform into Su Yung, but that's what Kylie Ray is there for, just rubbing her shoulders, blowing in her hair and like whispering sweet nothings in her ear just to calm her down. The women's champion was having none of this though, because she was super pissed off, so she was in there and she was attacking Kylie Ray before Susie was up. She did a terrible job of saving the day because soon Parazzo was beating her down too, but it did allow Ray to get the upper hand, and when she was done, she got the microphone, what I was talking about earlier, and said, "You and me, at the pay-per-view, it's happening." And Jordynne Parazzo was like, "No, I don't want to do it." And I was like, well, nothing's been confirmed yet. Kylie Ray ain't the general manager, although obviously it's going to happen, and we should probably do a title switch. Heath then absolutely smashed it with what could have been the best video of 2020. Up. It was all in support of the hashtag Heath for Impact campaign, and they had just gone out of their way to make it funny, to make it ridiculous, and make it very shareable on social media. Even David Hasselhoff within it was saying, yeah, Impact, you should hire Heath, because they had done this by clearly going on Cameo, paying whatever the rate is, and these dudes will just read out whatever you tell them, but I was chuckling away, and there was even Chuck Norris. Honestly, if you haven't seen it, just track it down now on Twitter. It is a damn good use of 4 minutes of your time. And D'Lo Brown was here, and one, they keep calling D'Lo Brown DeLorean Brown, which once again makes me laugh, because I'm a moron, but he also talked about Repo Man. So here we are on a 2020 mainstream wrestling show, and Repo Man got mentioned. I made so much noise, I actually think legitimately I woke up my neighbours. I've expected them to come around all day and knock and be like, "What were you doing?" And I was gonna have to go, "Somebody talked about Repo Man," and they would go, "Who is Repo Man?" And then I'd kill him. No, I wouldn't, that was a joke. I also didn't realise it was this easy to put yourself in the frame to potentially be hired by Impact. Like, I'm a wrestler, or at least I was before wrestling got shut down over here in the UK because of the pandemic, but still, go. Impact Wrestling, as important as it is that you try and hide it. That didn't work, did it? Head hurts. Still, this was brilliant, this was great, it was the absolute highlight of the show, and you damn right, hashtag Heath for Impact. The tag division then continued to implode, and I really do hope that when we do get for Bound for Glory, we take all of these teams and we just throw them into one big match. Because the Good Brothers were here and they were kind of yelling at the Motor City Machine Guns before the Rascals turned up, and they were shouting even louder, probably because they did get beaten up last week. And yeah, I was all like buzzing, like make it happen. The whole idea here is that every team is mad at the other team for one thing or another, and I get it, I'd be mad too. 2020 been crazy. Fair play to all of this stuff with EC3 as well, because Impact is going out of their way to try and make it all interactive and trying to make it all fan friendly, and that's what they did here, because Ethan was all like, "Moose, I understand why you're so mad and your TNA title's been taken away and you can't handle it, but I'm here for you, brother. You just gotta control and change the narrative." He then gave out a phone number that the audience can actually interact with to send hints to Moose to try and figure out this entire mystery. And I tried to do it from my stupid phone because I'm in the United Kingdom. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, what? How can you know what's going on? We live in the smallest world ever now because of social media and technology, and I can't do shit, but what I would like you to do is you do it and then let me know what happens, because I'm intrigued. This was good. Taya Valkyrie was then still upset with Rosemary because, of course, she wasn't around last week to help her out. That's just such a classic wrestling thing. You don't go and find them after the match and say, "Where were you, pal? Where were you, buddy?" You wait 1 week, and then on the next show, you unleash all of your emotions. Anyway, Rosemary did have a very good excuse. She was like, "Well, I'd been knocked out by Havoc, so what did you want me to do?" Finally, these two agreed to help each other with all of their problems. And does anybody else think that something is a little bit amiss? I do. I smell a screw job. Johnny Bravo was then organising this damn wedding. You know how I feel about wrestling weddings. And he was trying to get his groomsmen in order. My word, he has a bunch of groomsmen. I'm just going to read them to you because I can't remember them all. He's got the Deaners, Alicia Edwards, Crazy Steve, Johnny Swinger, and Falabar. And obviously Swinger is really mad at Falabar because he's been upgraded to best man. I will say this was all right. It was more entertaining than some of the other skits Impact have done, and especially I liked Alicia Edwards. I thought she was really funny. At one point she called Johnny Bravo a dick, and I laughed, because again, I'm like a 12-year-old child. This all then transitioned into a backstage skit with Brian Myers, and my initial response was, man, we are doing way too many backstage skit, because it literally went backstage skit, backstage skit, backstage skit, backstage skit. It's really hard to say fast 4 times, but actually, he took a baseball bat and he smashed it out the park. He is gonna get it up. Because Myers was beside himself that people kept accusing him of cheating last week, even though he definitely did cheat, and he started to throw a bunch of tables around backstage. That's when Tommy Dreamer came up to him like he was his dad. So look, you gotta calm down. You ain't showing no respect. If any other employee did this, they'd be fined. So maybe you wanna think about that. And then Brian Myers got right in his face and actually said, look, if my father talked to me like that, I wouldn't take it. So why am I gonna take it from you, you little pissant? He didn't say pissant. Eventually Myers did calm down and said fine, he will respect Tommy Dreamer and he will do as he so wishes, but next time they see each other in the corridor, he better turn tail and run, because maybe Brian Myers won't be held responsible for his actions. So now I think we're setting up some kind of thing between Tommy Dreamer and Brian Myers, and this was so well done and had such a level of intensity, I went, who knew? I actually want to see it. So well done. Cody, Deana and cousin Jake were then heading to the ring for their match when world champion Eric Young just appeared from the abyss and absolutely whooped these guys' asses. I mean, I did not see any of this coming, genuinely. He started with Cody and tried to break his ankle after hitting a pile driver, and even though Jake eventually got in there to make the save, he looked like an absolute goof, because when he turned to his partner to try and help him out, Eric Young was back and he gave him the pile driver as well. Eric then started shouting that this was Scott D'Amore's fault, it was Rich Swann's fault, and it was definitely Eddie Edwards' fault, and by the time he had got those words out, he felt like doing a bit more violence, so he turned to finish Jake off. Finally, after around about 68 hours, security got involved, and Scott D'Amore was there too, and I was like, Scotty, where the hell have you been? Although given what happened last week, he was probably a little bit hesitant, and who knows if they would have actually been able to stop Young if it wasn't for the returning Eddie Edwards. He is back. So yes, that was great, and this did do a very good job in reminding you that Eric is a bit doolally in the brain and that you never know what he's going to do. Now, I will say this, I'm a little bit worried that Eddie Edwards may be added into the match at Bound for Glory, but I don't want a triple threat match there. I want to see the culmination of Eric Young versus Rich Swann, but maybe we're going to be okay, because after all this, Scott D'Amore and Eddie Edwards were shouting at each other, because Eddie was like, I want a match now, so he's gonna get it at Victory Road. Good, let's settle that score then, and then let's go on to the big one, which again is Rich Swann versus Eric Young. But yes, this was very well put together and did a great job of reminding you once again how nuts he is up. However, I do have to say, it went too long. When Eric was beating up the Deanas, at one point I was sat there like, have we forgotten something? Are we waiting for someone to make the save, like the Big Boss Man? There's a really funny story about when the Big Boss Man was meant to break up a pin and nobody could find him backstage, so he just didn't. And that made things just feel a tad bit uncomfortable. I think we could have chopped this up a little bit. So that's a down. Sami Callihan and RVD were then having a match, and initially I was like, wait a minute, wasn't we meant to get a brand new RVD chat show that Sami Callihan was gonna hack into? But thankfully Josh Matthews told me, oh, that happened on social media, that happened online. So more fool me for not picking up on this, but maybe we could have had a few clips to show us what went down. Anyway, it did culminate in this, and the stipulation was, if RVD was able to beat Sami, he was then gonna have to have a 5-minute match with Katie Forbes, who of course also doesn't like the man. I tell you this though, it kind of got me up. Because they properly beat the crap out of each other before they got in the ring, because they were brawling around the place, and Sami Callihan, my mortal enemy, and obviously good friend, but more mortal enemy, would have had the better of this if Katie Forbes hadn't kept interfering and grabbing his foot. Then Rob Van Dam was doing his usual stick, which is now basically 25 years old, and yet somehow it still holds up. It was only here that the flipping match actually started properly, but what was the deal with this referee? I mean, Forbes couldn't have gotten involved more if she tried, but this official just kept missing things. So it's no surprise that Sami eventually was like, man, I'm going to sort this out myself. But unfortunately, that meant he was distracted, and when you are distracted in professional wrestling, if someone else then uses the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up, you're in a lot of danger. That's what happened here, but again, fair play to RVD. He came up with this crazy version where he's using his legs and twisting into like an octopus position. That man still got it. This was also coming off the back of Katie Forbes just spraying hairspray into Sami Callihan's face. So once again, this referee, what a mug he is. And then of course we got Sami Callihan versus Katie Forbes. And I was like, well, what is going to happen here? I knew it was going to cause some kind of controversy on the internet because it is intergender wrestling, but my take on it is simply, if all these guys want to do it, who am I to poo-poo it? But this wasn't even one-on-one, because as soon as they were going to get it on, RVD was back and he was returning the favour. And he was just beating the crap out of Sami Callihan. He was even gonna frog splash him on a chair at one point, but he just took a little bit too long. The hanger got up to his feet, chucked a chair right into Rob's face, which made me go, oh man, we absolutely should not have done that. And then he pile drived Katie and he got her for the 1, 2, 3. What I will say about this is that it was absolutely bonkers, and I kind of felt like I'd entered another dimension and watched some extraterrestrial car crash, but I could not keep my eyes off it, apart from the point when Rob Van Dam and Katie Forbes started to kiss. 1, nobody kisses like this, and 2, it just made me really uncomfortable. I don't need to see that, and maybe that was the point, but still, as much as I did enjoy this, that little bit is getting down. The fallout from that main event last week then continued because Madman Fulton and Ace Austin were like, look, we got a victory 7 days ago, so now we should be the #1 contenders for the tag team championship. But then the North arrived and they're like, you only got that win, you morons, because you stole our pin. And actually, all 4 guys here are 100% correct. So do you know how we're going to sort it out? They're all going to have a match next week, but Impact, don't let there be an actual finish there. I want you to take all the tag teams we've talked about during this episode of Ups and Downs and just put them in the most insane match at Bound for Glory, because how the hell is that going to go? It was then Tenille Dashwood versus Jordynne Grace, and Impact had done such a good job of building this over the last few weeks. I actually realised that when the bell went ding, 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 I was really fascinated to see what they were going to do. So that gets a round of applause, and these two get it up. I was also hoping for a clean win too, because I thought it would have established one of these two guys a little bit better, but actually what we did come up with has just painted Tenille Dashwood as an asshole. And well, I think that's the idea. Because while Jordynne had used her power for most of this, which Dashwood was struggling with, it was towards the end when Caleb with a K was trying to take pictures of her, and Jordynne Grace was like, what are you flipping doing? It's meant to be a wrestling match. And again, I've already told you once, I'd tell you twice, if I needed to, I'd tell you thrice. You can't get distracted in a professional wrestling match. It always goes badly. And although at one point it looked like Tenille was going to do the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, she didn't. She rolled through, essentially hit a Claymore kick or a running kick, and she actually beat Grace for the 1, 2, 3. And I went, I didn't see that coming. The model, as I think she's supposed to be, has just taken out the wrestler. So we'll see where that goes, and surely they're going to have a rematch at the pay-per-view, but we weren't done because then Eddie Edwards was leaving the arena, but he got attacked in the dark. And when the lights came back on, he was just laying on the floor. So maybe this was retribution. It wasn't. But surely it wasn't Eric Young, because that just makes all the sense in the world. So it actually ended on a cliffhanger where you were like, well, who the hell attacked Eddie? And that is great. That's all I need to make me want to tune in to next week. See, sometimes it can be that simple. So yeah, it was another solid edition of Impact. And maybe it was a little bit too skit heavy, but they are building to this pay-per-view, so they wanted to throw their stories in a certain direction. So overall, it's getting an up. And I tell you, I'm enjoying this little nugget of a show. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's episode Impact. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Head over to WhatCulture.com where you can read Ups and Downs articles. I don't write them, but that will just give you another flavour of the day. Head on over to Twitter and follow WhatCulture at WhatCulture WWE and watch more videos here on WhatCulture Wrestling. My name is Sami from WhatCulture. Thank you for joining me as always. See you soon.